Officers killed in the line of duty were remembered by local law enforcement. We'll share one survivor's story whose father was shot dead 43 years ago.
May 1st marked the 5-year shooting death of Sergeant Joseph Bergeron. The Maplewood Police Department held a special ceremony in his honor. And I'm Lon Bakey. Welcome to your police report. The community gathered at the memorial just outside the Maplewood Police Department on May 1st, marking 5 years since Sergeant Joseph Bergeron was shot and killed.
We spoke with the man who witnessed the shooting and found he remembers Sergeant Bergeron every day.
Maplewood Police Badge number 357 and the corresponding 5-7 series shall be assigned to Sergeant Joseph Bergeron into perpetuity. This action honors the service and sacrifice of Sergeant Bergeron, who was killed in the line of duty on May 1st, 2010.
It was a Saturday morning, and oddly enough, I was on the golf course with my dad. We'd made it through about 10 holes, and I was having the round of my life. I just shot an eagle, I recall, and pretty horrifying experience on the 11th tee box when my mom got a hold of my dad on his cell phone. And one of those instances where right away you know something's terribly wrong. We live in a world where terrible things happen, and it's very nice when you meet people that are the kind of person you can rely on when terrible things happen, and Bill Langevin is one of those guys.
I was running on a Vento trail, going south on the trail, and a police car came up behind me, and I pulled over and let him pass. And at the time I didn't know the officer's name, but it was Sergeant Joe, and he smiled at me, and I waved back to him, and he proceeded on. The worst day of my life, and I always remember that smile that Joe had there as he was smiling as he went past me, and 2 minutes later he was assassinated by two miserable individuals. And it's something you always remember.
I'm very honored to be here, as I have for the past 4 memorials, and I probably will be here for the next memorial and so on until I won't be here, and then I'll probably be with Joe anyways.
Just made an impression on me, and I could never forget him. And just come here and honor him for a few moments, and I honor him every day when I go out running.
You can see in the story that Chief Schnell issued each of Joe's badges to Gail Bergeron, Joe's widow, and their 2 daughters. They received the new badges Maplewood police officers were recently issued.
Here are pictures from the department meeting where we received the new badges and took the oath. Jared Peterson, our newest officer, is pinning the chief's badge. And here's Carrie Crotty, our very own.
Here I am.
Here I is.
Where am I? Oh, I'm right there.
Oh.
Over there.
Oh, you're the small one.
I'm the little one in the front row.
I don't see me. I must have been missing.
Huh. Wonder where you could have been. Huh.
Might have been checking out the floatability of the cruise ship out in the Gulf of Mexico.
Might have been.
It was
We're
fun.
going to take a break, but coming up.
It's been a deadly year for motorcycles on Minnesota roads. We'll talk with a safety expert when we return.
My name's Brandon. I'm 9 years old, being alcoholic.
Hi, Brandon.
I'll start drinking with the older kids. And whatever they do, I'll do.
Kids who drink before age 15 are 5 times more likely to have alcohol problems when they're adults. So start talking before they start drinking.
I know it'll start with alcohol. I'm just not sure how it's gonna end.
People have been killed in motorcycle crashes this year, marking it as one of the deadliest years since 1994.
Bill Schaefer is the Minnesota Motorcycle Safety Program Coordinator and is here with some safety information.
Thank you, Bill.
Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning.
All right, it's been a particularly deadly year for motorcyclists. What are the causes of these crashes and why is there an increase?
Well, it's been a really deadly year, and it's tragic because most of the causes of these crashes have been rider error. And all the single vehicle crashes, except for a couple, riders have run off the road in a curve. And those other two, rider rear-ended another vehicle, and another rider ran off the road in a straight section, hit a mailbox. Oof. So it's been a tough year, a lot of rider error, and the multi-vehicle crashes, about half of those have been rider error.
Wow. Is the number of registered riders going up, and if it is, why do you think that's happening?
It's increasing slowly. Back in the late 90s, registrations for motorcycles and ridership really took off, and I think that is as baby boomers, kids were going off to college, they had a little more income, and they got back into motorcycling. It's tapered off in recent years. It's still increasing, but very slightly.
What are the biggest errors riders typically make?
Well, in these single vehicle crashes this year, it's been an inability to make the corner. And cornering is a specific technique in motorcycling. It requires counter steering. And it's one of those things we recommend riders take a training course, because if they're not always thinking counter steering, if they get into trouble in a corner, it's too late to start thinking about it then. So it's something riders should be conscious of every time they make a corner. Other errors we see, multi-vehicle crashes, especially intersections, is riders not anticipating other vehicles possibly pulling into their right-of-way. And all riders should be slowing, covering the controls as they approach intersections with other vehicles in case they need to make a quick stop or swerve to avoid that other vehicle.
Sure.
You kind of answered it, but do you feel that these crashes are preventable?
You know, they certainly are. Training courses, all these things, techniques, counter steering, quick stopping, swerving, also using good judgment. Riders out there, we encourage riders to, especially motorcyclists, to obey that minimum 2-second following rule. It's like, that's, a lot of motorists don't do that, but if you do that on a motorcycle, you're really setting yourself up. If you're less than 2 seconds and there's a debris in the roadway or a hazard, you don't have time to avoid it. And we've had people killed in crashes just hitting tire gators from semis and other debris in the roadway. Not this year, but in past years. So that's a factor. Give yourself a break, give yourself time and room to react, and keep that minimum 2-second following distance or more.
Sure. How can motorists help?
Well, this year, fortunately, there's only been 2 crashes, fatal crashes, where the motorists have been at fault. But year after year, the number one cited contributing factor in motorcycle crashes with another vehicle in Minnesota are other motorists failing to yield. So we encourage other motorists, not only look twice, but move your head, look around your A-pillar. It's real easy to lose a motorcyclist in that A-pillar for a split second. Think you're clear and pull out in front of them.
In riding gear, what is the main stuff that a motorcyclist should wear?
Oh, full protective gear, a minimum DOT-approved helmet. We recommend motorcycle-specific gear. An armored jacket is good. Full leathers are good. Also armored riding pants or chaps, but if you got something with a little armor, and that's going to protect you even more when you hit the ground, motorcycle-specific boots and riding gloves are also highly recommended. They'll take the abrasion. They're built to slide on the roadway. Regular leather gloves are not.
Sure. What is the law regarding helmets, eye protection, those sorts of things?
Well, motorcyclists are required to wear eye protection. A shield, a windshield is not in and of itself eye protection.
Okay.
The law regarding helmets is all motorcyclists under age 18 and passengers under age 18 need to wear a helmet, and all motorcyclists who are riding on a motorcycle permit.
Okay,
and that needs to be a DOT-approved helmet.
One follow-up to that quickly. If you're wearing a helmet and you are in a crash, what should you do with that helmet?
Well, if that helmet's made any impact, which likely it has, you should replace that helmet. It's also recommended helmets, they used to say every 5 years. That's a little bit too conservative. Most manufacturers now are saying about every 8 to 10 years you should get that helmet replaced.
Okay.
So don't just shake it and if it doesn't rattle.
If it doesn't rattle.
Yeah.
Right. And it
Pieces
may
don't
look
fall.
fine. You might have just bumped it. In fact, they say if you dropped your helmet from a height to this counter here even, it may look fine, but it could have cracked that styrofoam liner, which is the impact absorbing liner, and you don't know that. So if you drop your helmet from any distance of about 4 feet or more, you should replace it as well.
And $160 for a new helmet is far better than my head.
Well, okay. And last question is, I know there's training courses available. Can you kind of talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, we have training all around the state of Minnesota. People can visit our website, motorcyclesafety.org, for other driver tips, motorcycle tips, and to view the training courses. We offer a basic rider course, which is a course where people can go and obtain their motorcycle or a waiver to get their motorcycle endorsement. That is, most of the people that take training in Minnesota take that course, but we also offer a level 2 of that. We encourage riders after 1,000 miles to come back with their own bike and do level 2 of that. It's just a 5-hour course. It's all ride time. It's cheap, $55, and most riders really enjoy that course. Beyond that, we also offer a couple levels of more advanced training we call civilian police motorcycle courses. We have a level 1 and level 2 of that. And we have a rider coach for our program who used to be a motor officer who took those exercises they use at motor officer school, took a lot of them, made them just a little more generous for the average riding population. And it's a really good skill builder. I've taken that course 3 times, and every time I take it, I walk out of there saying, geez, I feel 20% better than when I walked in here. And the last time I took it, I also realized it was the funnest day I had on my bike that year. So those courses are for riders with 12,000 miles or more experience, but they're high challenge, a lot of fun, and guaranteed to make them better riders.
And I took the basic rider course several years ago.
Oh, great.
And they provide the bikes and...
We provide the
So,
motorcycles.
yeah.
That's a very intensive 14.5-hour course, 4.5 hours of classroom, 10 hours of ride time. We provide the motorcycles. And out on the range, we keep the instructor to student ratio at 6-to-1. There's no more than 12 students out there, and we've got 2 instructors at all times.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was a great time.
That's some good
Learned a lot.
information. Maybe I'll have to get out
Glad you
there
had a
and
good experience.
I did. It
lay
was
one
great.
down.
Well, thank you very much,
Thank you
Bill.
so much,
Great
sir.
information.
Appreciate
Thank you.
it.
Can I just make another call out to motorcyclists? Be the best rider you can.
Yes.
Use good judgment on every ride. Use that 2-second following distance and ride within your skill set. A lot of times people are out there group riding and they may be riding with others who are more advanced riders. Always stay within your skill set. Ride sober, take a training course every year, and wear all the gear all the time.
Great information.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie. Thank you, Lon.
So again, if you'd like to sign up for a course, check out the sites we've listed here. The 4th of July is one of the most celebrated holidays of the year, but what about June 14th, Flag Day?
Flags are such a big part of the memorial and ceremonies that we celebrate, honoring our law enforcement. But why? We decided to find out more information on this lesser-known date.
Really a holiday, it's a commemoration. June 14th commemorates the birthday of the first American flag, which was introduced on June 14th, 1777 by the Continental Congress. The flag most famously made by Betsy Ross. And it wasn't until 1916, though, that President Woodrow Wilson actually made it an official day. If you look at flags that are made today, they're going to be machine sewn, if they're in fact sewn. Many times, if it's a state seal, for example, on a Minnesota state flag, it will actually be printed, silk screened on to the material. But if you look at flags of the 19th and early 20th centuries, they're almost always hand painted. In some cases, the details are actually stitched onto the flag by hand. So these are incredible examples of craftsmanship in a time gone by. This is the Minnesota state flag that was carried to the moon and back on Apollo 11. This is the piece of lunar sample that was brought back. Actually, lunar dust would be more appropriate, I think. Flags are used in official ceremonies, both government-related, political-related, in part because it's an example of patriotism. We are representing our country in those ceremonies, but they're also used, of course, in funeral ceremonies of military and law enforcement personnel because it's a way of recognizing the sacrifices that they've made for this country. Obviously, you want to show your patriotism and your love for your country by displaying your flag appropriately. And I think that it's a great day to remember the sacrifices of the many people that have made this country what it is, and to remember just how important it is to keep freedom and liberty alive, to keep the things that are unique about the United States alive in the hearts and memories of those who gave so much.
Coming up after this short break, we'll take you inside the 4th Annual Ramsey County Suburban Law Enforcement Memorial.
There's a place not so far away, a place where you don't have to keep the volume down or clean up your room, a place where you don't have to make time for free time. You don't have to do anything but show up. You'll find all sorts of creatures in this place without have to. The silly you, the proud you. You may even meet the curious you.
Tickling me. You!
There are lots of yous to catch up with. Ask your parents to take you to this not-so-far-away place. Come to the forest, where the other you lives. But first, stop by discovertheforest.org.
Many groups, including the law enforcement community, volunteer their time to prepare meals for families in need.
We've all heard of the Ronald McDonald House, but have rarely had a glimpse inside to see where or who the meals are going to. Take a look.
When my kids and I go to McDonald's, we see the little Ronald McDonald House. I was like, oh, that's the thing that helps support. So like they're getting money out of their pocket and putting all their coins in there.
Texan Jason Delgado and his family never planned to have an extended stay in the Twin Cities. But life circumstances brought them here. Jason and his wife adopted a son from Russia, knowing he had a rare skin disease called epidermal isis bullosa, or EB for short. It leaves his skin susceptible to injuries.
The first time I saw him get a dressing change and seeing one of his legs and it just looked like a raw piece of meat, I mean, I almost blacked out because it was really rough, and just to see all the stuff he went through. And so at that point, we had already decided to adopt him. And so at that point, your kind of parent instinct kicks in, like, well, whatever I can do for my child, that's what I'm going to do.
The Delgados moved to provide their son Anton with first-rate medical treatment. They've been staying at the Ronald McDonald House on the U of M campus since March. He finds comfort spending time with other families in similar circumstances.
There is a camaraderie amongst even the people down here, because everyone's here for some kind of special medical procedure, so it's an easy way to get to know people, and you wind up having a lot of the same experiences, like, oh yeah, I went to that doctor, yeah, I had to wait in the waiting room for 4 hours today, or my kid's sick again in the hospital.
The Ronald McDonald House provides families like the Delgados living more than 60 miles from the Twin Cities a place to stay. With the U of M Children's Hospital just minutes away, it's convenient, and staff and volunteers provide families all the amenities of home.
You took everything else that I would have worried about off my list so I could just focus on my child and getting them back to health. And that's incredibly powerful to know that you're able to give that gift to families.
The house was purchased 36 years ago and has 48 rooms. There's a school, internet, exercise equipment, a touchscreen computer monitor with the day's activities, and free laundry service. In addition to fully stocked pantries, every night volunteers prepare a home-cooked meal.
It's just a great way to give something to people who are in a position of needing it, needing some help and some, a little TLC. which means tacos, lettuce, and cheese.
For the second year, employees from Uptown Dermatology are taking over the main kitchen. Adeline Danforth started the tradition. She stayed at the house with their young son for 3 nights when he was sick with the fever.
It was hard, you know, you really, as a parent, you can try to put yourself in their position. You can't until you are, but I just thought that having a place like Ronald McDonald House, if I was in their situation more long term, how incredible it really is.
All these kids that are going through an illness, they're kids.
CEO John Stanek says families from around the world stay at the house.
Saudi Arabia.
And even though not every ending is a happy one, families are always grateful.
Even though they've been through an awful time with their children's illness, and in some cases when they lose their children, universally what they express is appreciation that this organization was there for them. You know, a pretty common comment from a lot of parents is, I never thought I would need something like the Ronald McDonald House. But when my child became ill, I don't know what I would have done if you weren't there.
Good job! We'd like to mention one of Maplewood's officers who was featured on the show In the Line of Fire on the ID channel. Officer Julie Olson survived the attack perpetrated by Devon Dockery, who shot and killed North St. Paul police officer Richard Crittenden on September 7, 2009. The show examines stories of survival and split-second decisions on the job. We'd like to take this opportunity to acknowledge Julie's bravery. Ramsey County officials gathered again for the 4th annual Ramsey County Suburban Law Enforcement Memorial in Arden Hills. We leave you with a look at how officers killed in the line of duty are being remembered. Thanks to all of law enforcement for all you do, and thank you for watching.
Left, right, left, right, left.
O Lord, today we honor those who have sacrificed life and those who have endangered themselves, acting with courage and conviction for the good of all. We pray your comfort for loved ones and comrades who feel their loss.
Howard Johnson, end of watch, August 16, 1972.
My dad had just been home and had lunch with my mom and said to the dog when he left, I'd really like to take a nap with you and not go back to work today, but I have to. And so because he was a plainclothes detective and he had an unmarked car, he surprised the bank robber who jumped down from a big pine tree, and he shot him at point blank range.
Beautiful, for heroes proved in liberating strife.
I feel fortunate that I had a wonderful father for 22 years.
For themselves, their country loved.
I want to thank all the families who are here of the fallen. It is so important for law enforcement and for the citizens of our state that we never ever forget those who gave their lives to serve the rest of us.
Joseph Bergeron, end of watch, May 1st, 2010. May time never erase the sacrifices that were made. May no officer ever fall alone to lie cold in their grave. May those of us still serving remember well the price they paid. May their memory stand forever as those who went down brave.